Hi everyone, this is Autel, Director of Business Development at Flight Base. Hope you're enjoying the next gen and all the sessions that we have been conducting for you. The next event is focused on drones and public safety. As we know, public safety teams have been prominently using drones for the first response. Drones have become crucial part of emergency response, but operations today still require first responder to drive to a particular location, take out the drone from the case, prepare for the takeoff, and finally launch it. Time is really critical component in these operations. Every second is important. How can these operations become efficient? How can we leverage automated drone and box technology to reach there? What is the future of drones in public safety? To help us understand this better, we have none other than Jeremy Schneiderman, the CEO and co-founder of Drone Nerds, North America's leading enterprise and consumer drone solution provider and distributor. So I would like to quickly welcome Jeremy to the session. Before I move on to Jeremy, let me just do a quick introduction as well as walk through a few housekeeping rules. So, Jeremy, as we know, is the CEO co-founder of Drone Nuts, and Drone Nuts was established in 2014. Drone Nuts focuses on ensuring that its customers have the right UAV solutions for their unique operation needs with its proprietary always flying program. Drone Nuts provides reliability and assurance for enterprise implementations across industry verticals, including public safety, government, agriculture, construction, energy, inspections, and more. For more information, you can go to enterprise.dronenuts.com. Welcome, Jeremy.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeremy Schneiderman. I am the CEO and one of the co-founders of Drone Nerds. Looking forward to talking to you guys today about how we are changing the way public safety is using technology today to better enhance their programs. I like my programs to be highly interactive, so I'm all about interrupting and asking your questions. I know as presentations go through, sometimes waiting to the very end, you may forget that question. So please, post your questions to the chat. We have a moderator here that will be happy to ask me them, and I'll be happy to answer them. To give you a quick background about Drone Nerds, we are a team of 65 drone nerds, what we call. We're based here primarily in South Florida, but we do have team members across the United States and into Latin America. Our goal is delivering successful drone programs across major verticals. And one of the major verticals that we've had a lot of success in is in public safety. We develop large-scale programs, and we do our best to try to take all the pains out of a program to have a successful mission at the end of the day. So today we're going to talk about drones and public safety, who's using them, why, and how they've become so intricate in different public safety systems. Based on some early 2020 studies, over 1,500 public safety agencies are using drones in their programs today. We believe these agencies are early adopters. We know that there's over 15,000 different police agencies here in the United States, and we believe eventually every single one of those agencies will have a drone program of some size. Many departments today are just starting to evaluate the technology and see how they can be a benefit in their program. Some of the leading states today that have larger programs is California, Texas, Florida, which we've had our hand in developing these programs from drone number one to, in some of these public safety offices, we're well over 200 drones in their departments. And we're seeing some great uses, which we're going to talk about today. Today, public safety offices are dealing with many different types of challenges. Obviously, the biggest one for them is safety, right? How do they keep their officers out of harm's way? How do they keep their firefighters out of harm's way? If we can solve this need and potentially save a life, there'd be nothing more rewarding for me and any of the people that are involved in our organization. So we look today at what are the biggest risks, right? Dangerous situations, really the unknown, and time. Many times in public safety missions, they're dealt with limited time. They arrive on scene, there's a hostage situation, time is not on their side. Then there's less obvious ones, just crime scene investigation, how they're doing it today. It's time consuming. End result sometimes causes extra traffic that doesn't need to be there. We have drones and solutions today that we're going to talk about that are going to help in all of these areas. Today, we talk about how drones can aid in public safety. One of the main things, aside from safety, is understanding situational awareness. Being able to get that information as quick as possible can help make informed decisions that could ultimately save some lives. Traditionally, ground teams would have to contend with blind spots and would be exposed to unnecessary risks in their day-to-day job. Utilizing the drone technology that we're going to discuss today, we can quickly deploy drones on scene, gain immediate aerial insight. We could hover over unfolding missions, live stream directly to the command center, so the commanding officer can make those decisions right away. This is information that wasn't available, prior to us getting into this drone industry. Using this information, you can synchronize teams, you can eliminate some of that uncertainty, and you could allow, the commanding officer to make those decisions with confidence. We do this today with the technology that we're going to show. One is the main thing, we're going to be able to provide overwatch. We're going to be able to use visuals and prevent our officers from being in harm's way. We utilize different sensors on these platforms, such as thermal imaging. This allows us to have eyes in the dark. We're able to find people where we normally wouldn't be able to see them unless we were within 5 or 10 feet from them in dense environments. Again, with situational awareness, we could provide instant real-time maps and send it to a command center. This is literally within 5 minutes of arriving on scene, I could have a 3D map of that scene live. That information is absolutely invaluable. Again, it goes back to how do we keep our officers out of harm's way? So we're going to talk about some really exciting technology today that's accomplishing this. Some of the benefits that drones offer are very obvious. Some of them not so much when it comes to public safety. Again, safety is the main thing. And we do this by having additional eyes in the sky and have advantage points that either the bad guy doesn't have, or we just don't have that cue when we first arrive on scene. Speed, I talked briefly about, time is of the essence. With the solutions we're going to talk about today, we can deploy a fleet of drones in a matter of minutes. And from those drones, we're getting that actionable data in the field instantly. We can cover a large amount of space quickly. Where we would, if we were in a search and rescue environment, we'd have to get a bunch of people lined up, walk through a forest with a drone. I could have a drone that's covering 25,000 acres in less than an hour with highly intelligent sensors. We're going to talk about a solution today that has an 18-mile range. Prior to this technology, you'd have to use a helicopter. Very expensive, time-consuming, and sometimes you couldn't fly as close as the drones could to cover that area. Today, we can capture data better than ever before and do this efficiently and more cost-effectively than with the tools of yesterday. We're going to cover two main areas in our presentation. We're going to talk about law enforcement and firefighters and how the technology is being used today. Some of the main areas that we use them for: surveillance. We talked about one solution. It can fly up to 3 hours. It could support multiple different payloads, from thermal sensors to 200x zoom capability. We utilize AI today. We have license plate recognition. We're able to identify and track objects or people intelligently with a drone. Ultimately, the goal is to provide overwatch and situational awareness. For crowd control, we're able to use our high-powered microphones to talk to the crowd in a hostile situation. We're also, if we're able in a search and rescue environment, and we have a drone that's 2 miles out in the forest, and we identify, somebody that might be lost, we can now talk to them and let them know help is on the way. That can be very reassuring to somebody that's in that situation. We could use drones to get an insight to understand traffic patterns. We could reroute the traffic after an incident in a more effective way, eliminating extra traffic that doesn't need to be there. For crime scene investigation, we could do accident recreation. With the right hardware, sensors, and software, we could create 3D models with centimeter accuracy, either using RGB cameras or LiDAR technology. This accident recreation can be done in a matter of minutes with better data than has ever been able to be captured. For fire rescue, they have a different flight mission. We are also trying to get safety first. Traditionally, in the past, if there was a fire in an urban environment, you'd arrive on scene, there could be smoke and obstacles that can make it a challenge to determine the scope of the fire and really what its threat is. This limits the ground perspectives on that fire, and it could hinder their ability to manage the fire the most efficiently. Post-incident, it can be very hazardous and costly to survey and document that damage. We can do this efficiently and determine the spread using the technology. With drone solutions, we're able to fly over the buildings. We can fly through obstacles. With thermal sensors, we can see through the smoke and help prioritize our targets. All while doing this, we can stream live video back to the command center, align the teams, and eliminate all of that uncertainty. We're able to leverage high-resolution cameras to remotely monitor some of the threats and document this damage for future analysis. Again, the data that we get today is far superior than the data that we were getting yesterday. When dealing with forest fires over a large terrain, we're dealing with complex terrain, which makes it almost sometimes impossible to get to the spot that we need immediately. From the ground, it's going to be difficult to quickly determine the scope of the fire and to prioritize targets without drones. With drones, we can bypass obstacles. We can quickly scout high-risk forested regions from above. We can fly above the tree line and quickly see the scope of the fire and establish fire lines and fire breaks. Additionally, with an eye in the sky, incident commanders can determine where to deploy their assets. Again, it's about speed and time, and being able to deploy these drone solutions rapidly, we can be much more effective when dealing with this type of situation.
So Jeremy, we did have an interesting question come up around in which ways are today's search and rescue drones autonomous, and how could full autonomy help in search and rescue?
It's a great question. So initially you fly out and we can go out to a field and fly and map that field. Once we know the situation and where the objects or the hotspots are, we can then create automated flights using the flight software. So the flights themselves will be automated. Utilizing some of the technology we're going to talk about later, where we have a drone in the box that's changing the batteries, we can create this mission and literally 24 hours a day have the flights going on to be able to address that situation.
And then one more, do you think the drone swarm can be used effectively for search and rescue? And with the increase in cloud computing and AI, do you see the drones used in prevention of crime? For example, a suspicious vehicle parked at a vacant parking lot for a long duration?
Yeah, great questions. Going back to the first question, the first part of this question, could you repeat the first part again?
Yes. Do you think the drone swarm can be used effectively for search and rescue?
Absolutely. If you think about it, if I could have one drone covering, a certain size of area, or having a swarm of drones, I could, again, be quicker, more efficient, and cover a lot more area, whether it be firefighting or it be public safety in a situation where a lot of area needs to be covered. And the second part of that question
was, do you see drones used in prevention of crime, just in terms of things like a suspicious vehicle parked in a vacant parking lot for a long duration?
Sure. So if we can automate a lot of this and have a drone where it's constantly flying, returns home, battery is checked, goes back up in the air, we can monitor those types of situations effectively and almost automatically. So when talking about natural disasters and search and rescue, we talked about the sensors that some of these have and the payloads and the flight time that these allow. This allows us to do mapping and 3D modeling post a disaster or even pre a disaster to understand what we're looking at as far as buildings and infrastructure. Utilizing the drone technology, we're able to create 3D maps with centimeter accuracy. For search and rescue, again, we can use thermal sensors with temperature alarms. We can cover many square miles and be alerted if an object is over a certain degree. So in a case of search and rescue, if we're looking for a person that's missing in a forest in the middle of the winter, we set that temperature reading anything over 80 degrees or 70 degrees, whatever that number is. We can fly a drone that's going to cover many miles of forest. And anytime it sees something that's over that degree, we're going to get alarmed. There's nothing more efficient than that. We talked about some of the solutions that drone can provide, but what I want to really do is talk about some of the hardware that makes this all work. First, we're going to talk about some of the platforms, and then we'll get into the hardware itself, the sensors themselves. The workhorse today across a lot of public safety agencies is the DJI Matrice 300. This supports up to 3 different payloads. I can run an RGB camera, a standard camera, as well as a thermal camera, and then have a third sensor up on the top. We use sensors that methane detectors. If there's a gas leak, you have a building that collapsed and we got to check to make sure it's safe before we send people into it. We can attach it to this payload. This one is weatherproof, IP rated, and has almost an hour of fly time based on the different payload. If we're looking for something a little bit more compact, that I believe eventually a drone like this will be in every single police officer's car. This drone allows 48 megapixel visual camera. You're able to do mapping. It has RTK capabilities, which is going to allow us to do precision modeling. Again, thermal imaging. So this is really can cover search and rescue, situational awareness, 3D model recreation, all in a fold-up drone that fits in the back of a backpack. I also want to add these drones all have avoidance technology. So not only is it providing safety for police officers, you're able to use them safely without damaging other people's equipment. When we start to look for a solution that's going to be able to have a long range capability for overwatch over large areas, we start to look into some of our fixed wing solutions. So this is a fixed wing vertical takeoff. It's going to take off vertically, the propellers are going to switch, and it's going to start to fly forward. This particular unit has up to 120 minutes of fly time. There's another model that they have is a 3-hour fly time, 67 miles per hour, almost an 18-mile range where you're going to get that live video transmission, all while you're flying up to 18 miles. Amazing technology. What's amazing with this solution, it's got multiple payloads. It's got a dual sensor and a triple sensor. The dual sensor is going to give you RGB and zoom, 20x optical zoom. On the triple sensor, you're going to get that same capability, and then we're going to add in thermal technology with radiometric capabilities. This particular craft is integrated with AI, where we can do that license plate recognition or that object following, which is, again, going back to that question about automation. I can put this into an automatic flight as soon as I lock into an object. I don't need to have my pilot following that object. The drone itself is going to follow that wherever it goes. Again, up to almost 3 hours of fly time. This particular drone was used recently in a very high-profile case here in Florida. We had a high-profile person of interest that was missing on the west coast of Florida for murder. The local sheriff's office, who has one of these Dragonfish, used it to surveil up to 25,000 square parcel of area. We were looking at underwater zones that were inaccessible, and it was inaccessible terrain to do by car or by foot. By using the drone, the FBI and the sheriff's office were able to find personal belongings that belonged to the suspect, and eventually were able to find that person. Again, previously we'd have to have a fleet of helicopters out there to do this job, which can be, one, unaffordable for some of these small local agencies, and also very time consuming. Any questions at this point?
There are some questions that I think we should address a little bit.
Okay, great. Again, highly interactive. If you have some questions, post them to the chat. We will get to them.
Actually, while we're on the Dragonfish, one question was, is there a battery swapping solution for the Dragonfish today, or are we currently at manual swapping?
Today, we are currently manual swapping. In the case of this sheriff's office, they have multiple crafts. So if you think about it, between two crafts, you can have 6 hours of flight time. While that one is down, you can have that one charging. By the time the other one is coming out of service, you can put the other one back up. So you could almost have perpetual flights using two of these. The Parrot Anafi USA is a very similar as far as specs as the Mavic 2 Enterprise Advance. Today, we're starting to see some demand for some NDAA compliant and Blue UAS trusted drones. The Parrot Anafi USA, as well as the Parrot Anafi Gov, are both on that Blue UAS list. Again, thermal technology, RGB, and zoom in a pocket in a foldable backpack size solution. One of the most exciting products that we've seen this year is the Brino Lemurs S. This was designed specifically for SWAT teams and public safety to fly in GPS-denied environments. So if we have, and unfortunately we have these school shootings where sometimes we don't know where that person is inside of the school. Traditionally with the drones, they fly using GPS technology to make it easy to fly. The Brino Lemurs S was designed using LiDAR technology to help fly within a GPS-denied environment. This drone can break through windows. It can open doors. It's got radio repeating boxes that it can drop throughout a building, so it could have continuous communication with the team that's going to be on the outside. And on top of that, it has two-way communication. So if we're able to identify a hostile person within, a place before sending in SWAT team, this drone can literally save lives. 30 minutes of fly time and almost 10 hours of perch time. And what I mean by perch time, we could fly it into a room. If we are now in a hostage negotiation situation, we perch this, and now we can talk through the drone and hopefully alleviate the situation. It also has a dropper. So if that person is asking for a pack of cigarettes, we can now fly this drone in, drop them the cigarettes, again, without putting any of the police force in harm's way. Not only are we able to not put police people in harm's way, we're able to use this in GPS-denied environment. Unfortunately, we had that condo collapse here in South Florida. And when that did collapse, we were using it for search, or the teams were using it for search and rescue. There were a lot of areas that we couldn't send people in by foot because it was an unstable environment. We couldn't put other people at risk. But using the Brino Lemurs S, we were able to fly into these tight-knit, this drone is only about a foot by a foot. We were able to fly this into these crevices and look for people and be able to get situational awareness that we weren't able to get before without putting people's lives in danger. The Teal Golden Eagle is another one of the Blue UAS. This was designed for government, but is now being reused and redesigned for public safety. Again, integrated thermal camera, daylight camera, can be fixed out in the field. So if something happens, typically when a drone goes out of service, it has to get sent into our service center. It's out of commission for a little bit. The way that Teal has designed this platform, it's One screwdriver can change almost all the parts on the drone. In fact, when they ship it, they give you replacement arms, replacement props. So if you're out in the field, again, time is of the essence. If they do have some type of incidents, they can quickly fix it in the field and get the drone back up and deployed. All of these drones run, anywhere from 30 minutes to up to 3 to 4 hours using the fixed wing. Technology is getting better day by day. The products that we're talking about today will be the old products of tomorrow. But really what makes those products so game-changing, it's the sensors on them that create that actionable data that either save lives, create 3D orthomosaics of the incident. They are really the key to making a drone program successful. We're going to talk about a bunch of different sensors that are used across all different types of public safety agencies. And most of these sensors that we're talking about are going to integrate into the Matrice 300. Some of them are specific to the platforms that we discussed earlier. Before we move on to the sensors, are there any hardware questions that we could cover?
We do have a hardware question just around which hardware would you recommend for creating drone swarms?
It's really going to depend on the size of the space. Small and portable is quickly deployable for public safety. So we like any of the ones that are foldable, and small, because those are going to be the ones that we can rapidly deploy, easily carry in the back of a cruiser, and get them out, up into the air. Any additional? Great. So moving on to the sensors, we have the DJI Zenmuse H20. This is a RGB camera with a 200 max zoom. Very efficient for mapping, very efficient for just observational awareness, and a very high resolution. Similar to the H20, we have the H20T. Very similar specs, but this is the one that's going to have that radiometric thermal capabilities. Both of those sensors are IP rated, so we can fly them in harsh conditions. This is the one that's going to have that temperature reading, and you could set the alarm based on whatever degree that you want. When we talk about mapping and creating those 3D models, the DJI Zenmuse L1 is a LiDAR sensor. This is going to also have, excuse me, a 20 megapixel CMOS sensor, and is also IP rated. With this sensor and the DJI Terra software, we can create centimeter grade 3D orthomosaic maps of any scene. Sometimes we can't predict what environment public safety is going to have to fly in. With the MSA, this is a LiDAR solution that also has SLAM-based technology that allows us to fly a DJI Matrice drone in GPS-denied environments. We could fly them, inside stadiums, tunnels, throughout mines. So you're getting the benefit of the SLAM technology to be able to fly in these types of environments, but you're also getting that same LiDAR technology to create 3D color maps. Another sensor that isn't your typical photo sensor, but is a loudspeaker that we integrate into the Matrice 300. This has a 4-mile range. Again, this is a way we can do crowd control or talk to either somebody that's lost, or if we have a hostage situation and we need to talk to that person from afar, we're able to do that using this loudspeaker and drones. Today, we're starting to see a lot of different manufacturers design accessories that complement the drone hardware and drone sensors to make drone programs more efficient. One of the ones that was introduced very early on was a tether system. Think of a long extension cord to the bottom of a drone so that we can have a drone sit up in the air in a persistent environment for really endless time, as long as you have a power source going into the tether. This is great for surveilling, small areas. If we have an accident, we could put a drone up and do it for traffic monitoring. But there are limitations on this. You are connected to a tether, 300-foot tether, so we can only go, as far as that cable is going to allow us. A product that we introduced this year is the Hextronics Global Advanced Docking Station. This is like a Tether, but on steroids. This is a drone in the box solution that allows the drone to land in the box, and this changes the battery automatically. On top of that, it's layered in with automated software to do automated missions, endless.
So we do have a question here around what does the future look like in terms of deploying these drone stations across various locations? And talk about a little bit where we are right now and how far are we from
Sure.
seeing advancements in the future.
So today, it goes back to one of my earlier slides. Today there's about 1,500 public safety agencies using drones based on a study from last year. We know there's 15,000 public safety offices today. We also believe, it's very early in drone technology and regulations. Here in the United States, there's things that we need regulatorily to happen in order for these to really scale to the level that we believe that they're going to be in the future. I personally believe in the future, every police department will have a drone program of some degree. I also believe that we'll have these automated docking stations. We should have one at almost every, public safety office in the United States. Why do we need to deploy a police officer to every situation if I can click a button and have a drone go there and be those eye in the sky automatically, not put people's lives in danger immediately, get situational awareness prior to us sending the public safety officers to that area? There's no reason why this won't happen in the future as long as we get the regulations behind us.
Thank you.
But until we have a drone solution box at every public safety office, we have other solutions to fill that gap. So Hextronics has the Hex Truck. So we take that same drone in the box solution that they designed, and now we've created an installation into the back of a pickup truck so that we can drive this truck to a scene, deploy the drone immediately, situational awareness. We're sending the video feed back to a commander station or, quite frankly, anywhere in the United States. So now we have, commanders seeing in real time what's happening on a local environment. It's amazing technology. So what we've seen, but before we move into kind of what the Drone Nerds does for public safety, are there any other additional questions on the sensors or hardware?
We do have a couple. So here we have one. You talked mostly about passive sensing. What is the future for precision delivery of more active payloads like fire suppressant, spill control, EpiPens, etc.?
Mm-hmm. So fire control we're doing today. We have drones that can drop fire suppressants today. So that's happening now. Delivery of medical supplies, it's going to go back to regulations beyond visual line of sight. Today we can deliver as long as it's within line of sight, and we have solutions today that do that. We have delivery box, we have drop-in mechanisms, but really on a large scale, once we have that beyond visual line of sight, which I believe is the next major boom in our space, once that passes, we'll be able to deploy a lot more solutions that are kind of in limbo today because of regulations. But I do believe we'll have a lot more active payloads than passive payloads in the future.
And then for natural disasters like earthquakes, do you think a group of ground drones and aerial drones can provide the safe path for ground teams to enter the affected area?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And kind of just as you talked about, as well as deliver food, medicine, etc., where help is yet to reach.
Absolutely. It's all about speed, efficiency, and safety. With a drone swarm and the right technology of drone hardware and sensors, the solutions can be rapidly deployed efficiently and safely. So how does Drone Nerds support public safety? What are we seeing today in the environment? We go into with a little bit of a different approach. We're looking to we look to take all the pains out of a drone program. And we do this by making sure that we're selecting the right solution based on what we believe their mission is going to be. We help define that mission. Then we go in and we do extensive trainer. We can train the trainer, or we can go into a department and train all of the individual pilots. We help with compliance, because ultimately, for programs to be successful, they need to be compliant, not only for the FAA, but the internal compliance within an organization. So we lay out fleet management software that assures, that these things are happening and these checklists are occurring when pilots are flying. And ultimately, a drone needs to be flying. So we have a service and repair part of our business that, in the case of a drone, that becomes inoperable, crashes, they send it to our service center, and we're able to get them back up and flying. And we pride ourselves on what we call our Always Flying program. We understand ultimately time is of the essence. A drone always needs to be operational. So for some of our public safety offices, we'll deploy what we call our hot swap fleet. So if they have an incident that they can't fix or repair in the field, they call us, we overnight a drone. Tomorrow they're operational and they're flying, and we'll take the other one back, put it into our we'll fix it, repair it, and put it back into the hot swap fleet so that these drones and these programs are completely successful. Really appreciate everybody's time. I'm here to answer any questions for you today. Let me know, Kara, if there's any additional questions to cover.
And give me just a moment as I read through the chat. We've got some great feedback about how the Hex Truck looks super cool, and we tend to agree.
We do. We believe that's going to be a real game changer for a lot of these public safety offices. The technology is mind-boggling when you see it in action.
Absolutely. I don't see any additional. Oh, I think we actually just had one pop up here. And no, unfortunately, I can't see that question. So it looks like we are wrapping up. Thank you, Jeremy. We really appreciate this time.
Well, thank you, everybody, for attending. We certainly enjoyed the time with you. Can you go to the last slide just so they can get our contact information?
Absolutely. Perfect.
So if anybody has any additional questions that pop up or have some questions on how to scale a program, feel free to reach out to us. Our number's up on the screen. Again, my name is Jeremy Schneiderman. I'm always available. Feel free to reach out to this number, ask for me. But we have an amazing set of drone nerds here that can assist in any type of program. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for the session. This was really insightful. We went through each and every components that are required for public safety officials to now move to first start the drone operations and move to a fully automated operations. So I think this was really beneficial. We had a lot of questions, so feel free people to head back to the booth that Droners has, and you can chat with the team there to even get more further insights or get answers to your questions. With that, we would now be closing this session. For the attendees, now we are having a networking session after this, so feel free to join that, and then we'll be having a last tracks for the sessions that we're going to close for the day. So if you head to the reception area, and you'd be able to join the networking sessions as well as the next set of sessions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Great. Thank you. Bye.